Morning YouTube. The video today is we're going to look at this SBE Sidebander 4, which locally is branded as a liner S878P. This is a radio that I restored going back nearly a year and a half ago, and we're going to just do a tiny bit of an alignment. I put it on the bench, and there is some slight issues with underpower, so it's not driving the tuner. And we'll see that in a second. We'll also look at the SSB side of things and put a meter on it, which is the bird just there, and we'll just put some tone into it and see where we're at. This radio receives extremely well after all the repairs. This was typically desoldering, reflowing, replacing parts, doing front end alignment, power output, RX. It was pretty much a deaf radio when I got it, which is typical, as I said earlier. We are talking 1975, 76 as a vintage radio. To give you some idea, this is just some of the local stations. Alright, so we'll just take it up to channel 40. I'm going to do a SSB test. This is not PEP. I'll just do the two-tone. Going to run through a tune cycle. Alright, we look at the meter. This is a 50 watt slug, so we're on the middle scale. It's running at 15 watts. That's a tiny bit under what I originally tuned it for. It should be capable of showing an output of 20 watts. Let's do a AM. Okay, we're on AM. It is calibrated 3.5 watts. Looking at the 50 watt scale again it's showing roughly about 3.5 watts on the bird meter. Alright, so we need to bring that up to about 5 watts so that the tuner works, and we also need to do a tiny bit of calibration to the SSB and have a look at the receiver alignment as well again, so being that this has been in storage for a while. Thank you. Area on the SBE which you've got to be very, very careful about, and I've just put some insulation tape on here, and I've in order to protect these connections to the circuit board. This is an area which is very easy to short out, and if we look at from a side-on perspective, you can see how close the circuit board is to the top of the bezel, and you're sliding a case on over this area. I've done it, and many others have told me that they've told stories of where they've actually shorted out wires in this area. So as a matter of process, what I did, and it's very basic, just put in a bit of tape, and that's permanently in place so that when sliding covers back on, no shorts occur. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is just a frequency counter check. Spot on. All right, we'll do a channel number 1 check. All right, TX. And there we go, 26965. There we go. Okay, back again. We've removed the case, which is pretty straightforward. It's 2 screws on the bottom side, on the speaker side, and 4 at the back of the radio. Well, I'll just give you a summary as to what work's already gone on this radio, just to show you what's involved in and commitment that you need to take on when working on SBEs and Balcoms and other similar chassis radios that have been rebadged. If you have a look at the circuit board, this is obviously the area for the Sidebander 5 where they put in the digital display. That's not used on the 4. This is the same board that they use in the also the base versions, which they do use that in the digital readout. All right, so if we go through, first of all, on the left here is the PLL side and the synthesizer. As you can see, all of the brighter soldering work that's gone on here is removal and then resolder that I've gone through and worked on. If we go back into over the back end of the radio, in the middle part here, this is where a lot of problems occur. This is the relay, which if I flip it over, you can see this relay here. Get a lot. This is prone to dry joints. Obviously in the RF deck over here around the finals and the coils. Again, that's another area that you need to focus on. And also these tuning alignment points here, the cans. Right, so if I'm just going to remove the speaker. We have to remove this one screw totally. So I'm one-handed here. And we can see underneath. Now, just a bit of a word of caution, and it can be quite frustrating. This is obviously a double-sided board, so there are a lot of jumpers and components that go through the board and bring tracks up through the other side. So you've got to be very careful when you're desoldering. I've done a full cap replacement right from the power supply. Well, you can see all the caps have orange marks on top of them. They're the ones that I've replaced. And we've got down to this area here, which I haven't done yet because I ran out of product. So that's all it's due to arrive shortly. So I'll flip it back over. All right, so again, as per the front of the board down here, you can see a lot of fresh solder. And you can see the comparison to the wave soldering, which the original factory did these boards. So a lot of the problems, the first area that I look at when one of these comes in that I buy is this area here, the relay. And it's as simple as getting a RF neutral thing like this tool and just slowly going through and pressing the board until you either get RX audio or you get a TX carrier. So that's as how I start working on these radios, and every time it's been time consuming, but that's what's got me through to repairing dry joints, finding faulty capacitors, and being able to get it into alignment stage. Okay, where are we at with the SBE? All right, so we've got through and done as much as we can on the TX output. So the areas of where we needed to peak the power out was on the VCO output. Then the VCO buffer amp, we've peaked that. And then we've gone to the 27 megahertz filter, which are these two here, which is T503 and T502. These are very small adjustments, and if you lose AM, it's generally because you may be getting power output on SSB, but these two are an issue. So then we went on to T501, which is the interstage 27mm 27 kilohertz transformer, which is here, and then we went into the T matching network here and here, and into the we went over to T201, which is the IF amp and peaked power output here. And then in the final one, we did the output Z matching coil, which is here. And then we peaked the audio, the VR302, and then backed it off a tiny bit. The result is that we have a slight increase on AM power. It's running at about 4 watts. So if I do a TX, this is channel 40. We've got 4 watts on the bird there. And if we go to SSB and run a tone through it, just bear with us. So there we have about 18 watts on 40. And about 18 watts on channel 1 as well. Okay, so we've got a bit of skip coming in, so DX, so I'll have a look. We're on channel 36 at the moment. Okay, so the next step is just to do a very minor tune on the RX and then put the covers back on. Alright, we're on channel 1. There's our carrier. Put a single tone. There's 5 watts, or roughly 5 watts. But look at the swing. Alright, we've adjusted the audio. We're getting a decent swing on peak to about 10 watts on AM. And on upper sideband, we're getting our 18 watts, and that's looking more like 20 watts PEP. Okay, it looks like the Philippines are coming through on channel 36. Well, it's the first time I've heard something like that happen in the last year. Not that I'm on listening to CB that much, but whilst I've been tuning these radios. Anyway, I'm going to button this up, put the covers back on. Alright, that concludes today's servicing of this liner S878P. One thing that I have found out that it's got an intermittent problem on the mode switch, which I lose TX power totally on AM. Difficulty is sourcing these is through parts radios, so I need to have a look at how I can source one. But other than that, I'm very happy with the outcome. And sorry, we'll get rid of that. That's just the local Okay, we've got more DX coming through on channel 30. So that's a decent signal. Sounds like the Philippines again.
Tapi tak dipastikan ya, rinti-rinti tadi. Habis itu terang begitu. Di malam lekat. Kalau tadi malam lekat cuma tidak lama. Ya sudah. Ya sudah buatan diam.
All right, there you go. That concludes today's effort. Thank you and good luck with your DX.